Hello, I am back with another art project and I am going to share with you the artist Jim Dine, and we're going to talk about texture and a little metal art making project. So something a little bit different for you all, and this has always been a big hit in the classroom, so I thought, oh, let's make a video. So if you're with me in the classroom, we can make it, and if you're not and you're at home, you can make it as well. So here is, we're going to talk about the texture of hearts. So I like to start off with an artist quote. So he says, this is something that Jim Dine has said. I have come to terms with a lot of things because when all said and done, there's really very little one can do about a lot of things. You just have to accept them. The point is you just have to keep on working and you just have to keep on living. And to me, this means you keep on working no matter what. You don't give up. So that is something you need to keep in mind when you're doing artwork. Too many of you all give up before you even start. Just got to keep going. So here is Jim Dine. This is that's a picture of him. He is still living. He was born in 1935, American artist, and he's often associated with abstract expressionism and pop art. So abstract expressionism is, to me, is about the process and how you express yourself through the process, not really what the finished product is. But pop art is when you take a very literal sense to an object. So you usually pop artists like to use like an everyday object as their muse, as what they like to do their artwork around. And for Jim Dine, his was hearts. So he did them in different ways. And so he kind of falls into those two genres of abstract expressionism and pop art. His regular use of everyday object is, as I said, the reason they put him in the pop art movement, but he didn't really like that, didn't want to be in that movement. I think it's because his work is more about how he expresses himself while doing it. So I believe he'd probably rather be in the abstract expressionism genre thought of. One reoccurring theme in his work is the use of hearts, and he created a whole series of pieces using with different mediums. So he would paint them, print make them, sculpture, all included art, hearts, and he liked hearts because they reminded him of his wife that inspired him. So here we're going to go through some different phases of his artwork, just so you can get an idea of how different and how many different mediums he used. So this one on the left is a mixed medium by Hope. It's called Hope, and it was done with spray paint and pencil and charcoal and collage. It had all kinds of stuff going on. And if you move to the right, that is hand-painted Arifica. That has hearts. You really have to focus in. It's almost like an optical illusion, and that's printmaking. So what he did was that he reproduced the same image over and over, and then he altered it in his own way. So printmaking and mixed media are very important art terms for you. Here is another. The one on the right is another printmaking. He made this heart stamp where he reproduced the image over and over from that one stamp, and he would alter how the impression turned out to make his artwork. And here on the left is an oil acrylic painting of his heart. He must have really loved his wife if he's doing all this for his wife. Here are some of his sculptures. This is a painted bronze, and this is another sculpture over on the other side. So, of course, they're both hearts. I'm going to go back to those. So, freestanding, a sculpture, that's another big art term for you. That's a three-dimensional form. So that is something that can stand on its own. It has height, width, dimension, and you can look at it from all angles. Here is another. Both of these are both printmaking. So this is a silk screen print on paper, and screen print is also what is used for your t-shirts. So if you are on an athletic team or you have one of those Fortnite t-shirts that have been mass produced, it's because they made a screen print of that, and they just produce the image over and over again. And then the one on the right is a silk screen, which is the same concept, but done with silk. So the silk is burned in a certain way so the impression can be made through it. So there's two types of texture. There's 2D texture and there is 3D texture. And today we're going to do actual texture because we're doing it in a relief. But implied texture is a visual texture refers to an implied sense of texture that the artist creates through the use of various artistic elements such as line, shading, and color. So that is, if you touched a 2D, which would be like a painting or a drawing, it's going to be smooth, but when you look at it, it looks really rough. That means that artist was able to imply that it had a certain texture about it, even though you can't feel it. Now in 3D art, you actually create an actual texture, which refers to the surface quality of an art. So some things, they may appear, whatever they appear, that is how they feel. So let's say if it looks bumpy and you touched it, it is bumpy. That's actual texture. So the type of texture we're going to use today is something new to you. So it's called embossing, the process of creating either raised or recessed relief images in a design. So this one on the left is up close, and then the right is a little bit zoomed out. So it is made of metal, and it's extremely old practice that occurs in many cultures. So it's a little of a, they call it metal tooling. So it's a little metal working where you have to press to create raised or recessed images in the piece of metal, a sheet of metal. So right here, we can do an embossed pattern, which is a material that's raised up. So you see these branches that are raised up, and debossed pattern is things that are pressed down. They're lowered against the background. So that is a piece of metalwork for you just to look at, take it on in. So our materials, this one takes a little bit more materials, and if you're here in the room with me, I have them, but if not, I'm going to go over some ways that you can have the materials. If look around your house, see if you can find them. So the first thing is you need you a blank sheet of paper. 6 by 6 inches is probably best. You don't need it to be really big. Craft foam, which is a piece, it's like a piece of paper, but it's foam and it has a little bit of resistance. If you have styrofoam near you, that works just as great. So you just need that. It needs to be at least 6 by 6 inches so you can use it to do the impression. Colored Sharpies, and when I mean Sharpies, I mean permanent markers. It's very important to use permanent markers because they don't smear. So whenever you use them on the foil, they won't wash off. I've noticed if you use a Crayola washable marker, it won't permanently dry and it just smudges. So it's best to have a permanent marker. It doesn't have to be Sharpie brand, but just a permanent marker. A pencil and eraser, aluminum foil, Reynolds wrap, whatever you got near you. You just need a 6 by 6 inch piece. You want to make sure that it doesn't already have an impression on it. So you need to be very careful because an impression can happen very easily. And mounting paper. So whatever color you want to put your finished metal piece on, you may do that. I like to put mine on black. That's what I do in the classroom. But if you want to be wild and crazy and put it on a piece of pink paper, that is fine. It's your artwork. So we're going to go through the process of embossing. So you first need to come up with a draft. So with your 6 by 6 inch piece of paper, you come up with a design, a drawing. It can make it simple, but do make sure you're including a heart because we are studying Jim Dine, and so we want to do hearts in honor of him. After you get that little drawing done, then you're going to layer it. You're going to put it on top of a piece of Reynolds wrap and then lay that on top of your craft foam or your styrofoam. And to keep it all in place, you can tape it together, just a little tape at the top. And then since all that's set up, it's time for you to do your embossing. So I recommend to have a dull pencil. So if you have a pencil that needs to be sharpened very badly, those are the perfect ones to use. And you're going to gently trace over the design that you created on the first drawing sheet of paper. You will notice if you lift up your drawing piece and look at the Reynolds wrap, that impression from your pencil marks will be shown. Okay? So what now, since we've got everything embossed, you want to remove it. You want to take that drawing piece of paper off, look at your piece of foil and look at your design. You can do touch-ups. You can start doing the debossing. If you want to lower some of the surfaces and press them in, just lay it on top of the foam and you can put your pencil mark to press in some of the designs if you want it to make it a little bit more interesting. And then last but not least, you can fill in, well, it's not last, but you can start to add color. Use your permanent markers. You can use them any way you want. Don't get your permanent markers on everything, but if you do, hairspray gets it out. So if you're at home and your parents are about to flip out because you're using permanent markers, you can use hairspray, spray it on there, it wipes right away. And now you want to mount it. So I took my piece off the drawing paper and my foil off the drawing paper and the piece of foam. So I'm done. And here's an up close look of mine. It doesn't photograph well, but in person, it's really cool because you can see all that embossed and deboss, how it feels and how the rays of texture and that relief going on. So you want to mount it on a piece of construction paper, whatever color. And here's what you're going to do so you can turn your work into me. In your virtual art gallery, you need to open that up and locate the slide that is labeled texture. And I want you to take a picture with your Chromebook camera and insert it onto that page. And as you can see, I kind of did my own little computer right here, inserted it on the page. So that's all you need to do. And I can see it and I can give you a grade. And you may hang up your beautiful piece of metal artwork at home. Make sure you share with me. Again, here's my email, my Insta, my TikTok, and my Facebook. I want to see your all's beautiful work. Have fun with this. Don't overthink it. Just think hearts. And before I sign off here, I wanted to give you all a little tip on how to draw a heart, because a lot of people always freak out and y'all tell me you all don't know how to make hearts. So before you go, I just want to give you this little tip. I'm going to use my pink marker. A heart, think of it, 2 circles, okay, and V it down. And you can erase the way in the middle, and you have a beautiful heart, okay? Have a great day. Can't wait to see your work.